The star player for the Milwaukee Bucks, Donnie, can you pronounce his last name?
Well, I can, guys. I can do that. When a player gets good enough to only be referred to by their first name, you got to respect that. So I can pronounce it if you want me to, but then I'd be insulting the man. Why would I insult Giannis?
You want to try it again, Stan? You want to try the Greek Freak's last name again?
Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Let's go ahead and do the celebrity prognosticator with Donnie Wahlberg,
Stan,
please.
can I just say, Stan, you could be coaching this guy one day. You know, you could be back in the league coaching him. You should probably learn his last name. You need to know it. I don't.
That's a good idea, actually, yes.
Live from ESPN Studios in South Beach. It's the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
From now, we talk to a Zamboni driver who won an NHL game as the goaltender yesterday. That's a thing that happened in hockey. It's why Billy thinks now today that Stugotz can be a goalie in the NHL. This is something that Billy has thrown out as a theory, given the fact that a Zamboni driver, a 42-year-old Zamboni driver, won an NHL game last night.
No, Dan, that's not exactly what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Stugotz was a lacrosse goalie, right?
Yes, I was.
All right.
Not a good one, but yep.
Stugotz, you have to go with me. Exactly.
Okay, sorry.
So I feel like, and I could be totally wrong, a lacrosse goal seems to be bigger than a hockey goal. It's definitely taller. We can agree that it's taller, right? A lacrosse goal is taller than a hockey goal, Dan?
We can agree on that. Yes, we can agree on the dimensions.
Okay, so in theory, if it's a bigger goal and Stugotz is good at blocking that goal, he'd be good at blocking a smaller goal, wouldn't he?
Not on skates, and not because he was actually good at being a lacrosse goalie.
But there's also bigger pads. Aren't there bigger pads, Stugotz? Are there bigger pads?
There are bigger pads in hockey than lacrosse, yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Smaller goal,
Yep.
bigger pads. I mean.
And I'm bigger.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Who is the shortest goalie ever? Is there a height like for quarterbacks? There is for quarterbacks? Because Stugotz is about 5'6".
Probably Darren Pang.
The Panger.
I didn't think that goalies came in Stugotz's size. Speaking of which, we've got to get to this story about a 9-year-old in Australia being bullied who may have been an 18-year-old little person. We don't know for sure.
I Googled, and I don't know that this is, accurate, but I Googled shortest hockey goalie, and I see Roy Waters was 5'3". Wow.
Yeah, Pang was 5'5".
Okay, so maybe you're onto something here.
If anything, I would think small size would be an advantage because he doesn't really have to crouch. He can be standing more comfortably, so it's not really a lot of pressure on his knees or like his back or neck. I think this is your thing, Stugotz.
I am, listen, I think I can pull it off. I'm checking out, Dan, some of the great goalies of all time were like 5'8", 5'7". That's right in my range. Andy Moog, I mean, some of the greats.
Worsley.
Yeah.
The Vezina Trophy is named after Vezina, and he was only 5'6".
Wow. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, Chico Resch, 5'9". Islanders backup to Billy Smith, 4 straight cups.
Great fear.
5'10", Billy Smith.
So we are going to talk to the Zamboni driver in 1 hour. Also, our boxing expert, Rosie Perez, is going to join us at 12:30 Eastern to talk about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. This one was interesting for a number of different reasons, Stugotz. So you've got, for those of you who haven't seen the movie Snatch, okay, with Brad Pitt as it's an old movie. This is Guy Ritchie before Madonna sucked all his powers away, where he is a filmmaker who was great, and Brad Pitt played a character, an unintelligible character. Sorry for the verb choice. I scared everybody in the other room.
You gotta warn me.
Seriously.
Go down that path.
But she just sort of took all his powers. I don't know how that happened. She just sort of took all of Guy Ritchie's powers. And that movie was excellent. I fear the back row doesn't know what I'm talking about here, but Tyson Fury is basically, and this part of it is hugely interesting to me, and it also must be a little terrifying now to anyone who wants to fight him, because he seems like someone who's totally impervious to fear and pain. Like, he will just keep moving forward, eating your punches, even if you're Deontay Wilder, who's got the heaviest punch in the sport. And because he's a good boxer who is descended from decades and centuries of fighters. I don't know if you've seen this dude's father, but he looks like Tyson Fury, sounds like Tyson Fury, and this guy is just such a, you hear in sports all the time, the idea that someone's DNA is something. This guy's DNA is literally just gypsy after gypsy of people who will fight you in the street and like to taste your blood. And so during the fight, he's sitting there in the match. He told everybody, I'm just going to keep moving forward. He's going to have a problem with my weight and my size. He doesn't look like the kind of heavyweight that you're used to being at the top of the sport. A little bit flabby, a little out of shape, but he retired the good Klitschko after a decade of dominance. And now this guy, Deontay Wilder, he made him look like an unsophisticated brute who did not know how to box. He turned him into somebody who was just a big puncher, and a big puncher who was 40 pounds lighter than he needed to be to win that fight. And then during it, it's so calm and relaxed before the fight that he's sitting there making love to the air in his locker room, dancing around, pantomiming sex, just being a court gesture, comes out to the ring with no fear. And then during the fight against maybe the biggest puncher in the history of the sport, when he locks him up, he sticks out his tongue because he wanted to taste his blood. And he told everybody he was going to taste his blood during the fight.
Boxing.
And Wilder looks out of sorts because his eardrum is shattered.
Well, there's that too. There's that too. Like, people saying you don't need to stop that fight. I thought you needed to stop it basically in the second round as soon as an ear started bleeding.
You could tell with his equilibrium. It wasn't really like the punches certainly weren't helping, but anytime he'd get pushed back, he would hold onto the ropes to prevent himself
He
from
was
falling
tired too fast. He had no legs too fast, and his equilibrium was shot because Tyson Fury took it from him. But Tyson Fury also outboxed him in the last fight when he didn't have a shattered eardrum.
He was moving forward, like you said, the whole fight, and that was because of a strategy shift with his new trainer.
Well, that's interesting, too, because he was fighting. Now you've got the gypsy descended from gypsies, bare-knuckle fighters throughout time, who has been coached on how to use his power and gained what we thought was 17 pounds of fat that was used specifically to have more power in what it is that he was doing so he could shatter the eardrum of a Deontay Wilder.
You seem very surprised by all of this. The fact that he's a technician, that he changed his
enjoyed
game.
it. No, he was a technician in the last fight too, but in this fight, he got specifically different coaching, and you could see it. You could see it because he wasn't sitting around waiting to get hit. One fighter improved from one fight to the next. It wasn't Deontay Wilder. He made Deontay Wilder look totally unsophisticated as a guy who is now like, imagine the thing that's great about that sport, barbaric as it is you're stripping down people to nothing but their courage. They're in their shorts, they're in the ring, and fear is a big part of a lot of the things that happen in there. Even the best heavyweights will talk to you about the fear and the doubt that they had to overcome to get into that situation. Deontay Wilder was stripped of something Saturday night. He was somebody who every time he stepped into the ring, everyone knew to be a little afraid of that guy. Everyone knew menace. It's not quite Frank Bruno, like the number of times that he did the sign of the cross on the way to the ring when he was facing Mike Tyson, but everyone knew. But now you've got a situation in Tyson Fury where that guy doesn't look the part. He is undefeated, and he is 6'9", and he's kind of flabby.
Nice.
And no one has beaten him. And I wonder if you guys are as interested as I am in, because obviously he's got charisma. Obviously, he's someone who's a very good talker. He's sitting in the ring afterward, and he's singing songs as if he expected all of that to happen. There was no point in that fight where you guys sensed anything that resembled fear of, like, he knew that he was going to be someone who would confidently move forward, and he dismantled a dude whose corner felt sorry for him, whose own corner felt sorry for him, and quit on his behalf. because they didn't want a fighter that they cared about to take any more punishment when his equilibrium was clearly off and he didn't have his legs and he's sitting there in a corner with this brute. But I just find this guy's story fascinating because that movie Snatch, you guys need to look up some of that stuff so that you can see what Brad Pitt's character was. This is a 6'9" version, 270 pounds of the Pikey in Snatch.
Such a fan, periwinkle, fudge fart.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options and pick the price that works for you. Visit Progressive.com today. Here's your SportsCenter update. Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks, while idle yesterday, have clinched the earliest playoff berth in at least 15 years. As the Bulls defeated the Wizards, the postseason begins in 55 days. It's ridiculous. The NBA is ruling on the Mavericks game protest from their loss to the Hawks. The NBA, depending on that ruling, will decide if Mark Cuban should be punished for entering the court twice during the final moments of the game. Comments made on social media about officiating, the league's office, their leadership, and individuals overseeing the league's development program. Of course he's going to get fined. I mean, are you kidding me? He should be. SportsCenter brought to you by Bolt 24. Being an athlete is 24/7, so stay hydrated with Bolt 24 with antioxidant vitamins A and C, electrolytes from watermelon and sea salt, and no artificial sweeteners or flavors. Bolt 24, all-day hydration for all-day athletes. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
More than Stu from the Clevelander on ESPN Radio.
Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat.
So Better Call Saul came back last night, and that show is right on the cusp of being every bit as good as Breaking Bad was. It returned last night, and something I was not aware of is that right before it, and this makes me an idiot because I'm assuming that right before it is The Big Show, not Better Call Saul. Walking Dead is still wandering around out there, still coming up with season after season, and I gave up on that so long ago because the storylines were redundant. I was legitimately surprised to see that Walking Dead was still out here doing it, and I'm guessing that I'm the idiot there, right? It still gets huge ratings?
Everyone that I know that's still into it is just like, yeah, I still watch it, but I don't know why. That's basically, like, most people I think have, a lot of people have given up on it, but even the people that have stuck with it are just kind of out with it.
How many seasons of Walking Dead have there now been?
This is the 10th season of that show.
And all of the main characters are still alive? Like all of the people who have been there?
No. People, I stopped paying attention to the show, as has a lot of people that used to love that show. It was a weekly must-tune-in live event. Rick left the show, even Carl. Like, it's basically just who's the dude with the bow and arrow? That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
He's still around.
Robin Hood.
So you left the show?
Daryl,
Left the show because certain characters left the show? I did the same thing with Homeland. Like, when Brody left the show, I was done with Homeland, and I regret it because people tell me Homeland every bit as good without Brody as it was with Brody. Brody was only there for a season.
Nah, certain characters dying took some of the air out of it for me,
but
it
also
just,
that every season is exactly
just
the
got
same.
It got super redundant. That's a show that
Like the Jets.
It should just have like a limited run. I feel like they're now like writing on the fly because they didn't expect it to go this long, and it's sort of like Lost. They kept finding like curveballs to throw at you.
I've told you that story of once Matt Damon realized he was getting out of Bourne Identity when he was just running through streets in some country, and they were writing the script around where he ran. Like he didn't even know why he was running. He was just sort of running around in a city, and they said, we'll figure out later why you're running around.
But he came back.
He did.
All-time series lows, sort of week over week over the last season of The Walking Dead.
And so it didn't do well last night because is Better Call Saul still a fringe property comparatively, given that Walking Dead for a while there was the number one show in America, wasn't it? It was the number one show in America, was it not? Or on cable television?
Walking Dead was, yeah. On cable television, it was the biggest ratings draw.
We also have television news, Chris. The Friends reunion, HBO Max. I don't understand the popularity of these people. I don't understand the popularity of this show.
So what happens if they use my idea? Do I have any legal? I'm just saying if they do.
It's not scripted, right? The reunion, I think, is just a reunion. Like, they're going to all sit on a couch and drink coffee or something.
Well, your idea, for those who don't know, is to come back with a reunion, not say anything, and in the middle of it, make it a murder mystery.
Well, actually, like, lie to the audience and make it seem like it's just going to be your standard Friends show, and then just halfway through, it just goes dark.
I think that's still in play right now. I mean, there are some details coming out about each of the cast members is being paid $3 million in order to do this. Okay. HBO Max is trying to do the Netflix thing of get a bunch of people to your place so that they're subscribing for something, and that's a good way to do it, right? You pay, what is it? How many cast members is it? Is it 5 cast members? 6 cast members. You pay them each $3 million. It's an $18 million investment. You throw in a few more $1 million.
5,
boom.
yeah, 5 after my murder mystery.
You get all. You've got one. Oh, I didn't realize you had one of the Friends characters being murdered.
I hadn't ironed out. I hadn't ironed out the storyline.
Buy another one of them.
But I didn't know if one of them was going to become the murderer. One of them gets murdered, and they all have to react to it. I wasn't like, we didn't iron out those details, but. Most people, Joey. I think Joey would be the one. I think a lot of people said would go rogue there.
I am getting crushed right now. Brody was on that show for 3 seasons.
That's what I was saying back here. I was like, it was definitely more than one, but I get what your point was.
Well, I also loved how confidently he said it, and he like swung his sausage fingers. And I just, because it's whack-a-mole with him, and I can't correct everything, I just said, well, that one he's confident of. Clearly, he got it wrong. Obviously, he got it wrong.
How do you kill off someone in a zombie show? Because if they get attacked by a zombie, don't they turn into a zombie?
That's true. No, you have to stab him in the head.
No, but I'm asking. Like, if
I thought it was the heart.
No.
That's a vampire.
So this guy that left the show was stabbed in the head?
Who? Which one? Rick?
No, Rick is the lead.
How did he leave?
Rick just sort of disappeared.
He stopped.
Why don't they all just do that? Then they won't be getting attacked by zombies anymore. If that's an option, just leave town.
I think Rick left over a contract dispute, or because he saw what the rest of us did was the show is, it's the same every week.
Yeah, and Rick for many seasons was like, I'm about done with this. I don't want to do this anymore.
You're constantly getting attacked by zombies. Who would want to do that? How do you leave? Why don't they just give up? What are they protecting? Their houses? What's the point of staying where all the zombies are? Just get on a plane and leave.
There are zombies everywhere.
Well, no, Rick got out, so why can't the rest of them get out?
You're going to stay with this?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. If
Rick got out as an actor, Billy.
Yeah, I know, but in the story, something happened to him that he got out, right?
I don't know.
Just follow Rick.
Did Rick die? What happened?
No, it's sort of left open-ended.
Oh,
there's a door open for his return for a ratings boost.
There you go.
The old open door, huh?
The open door. So Rick's gone, so he could return haggard in a couple of seasons for a total money grab ratings pull.
You're listening to the titillating Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Worshippers at this particular church.
Everybody please bow your head and hold hands. Our Gronk, who scores in sevens, hallowed be thy brain, thy kingdom dumb, thy will mix run, on turf as it is in heaven.
Guillermo, put it on the poll, please. Did you think Walking Dead ended 5 years ago?
After season 5?
Just 5 years ago.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Milwaukee Bucks, while idle yesterday, have clinched the earliest playoff berth in at least 15 years as the Bulls defeated the Wizards. The postseason begins in 55 days. The NBA is ruling on the Mavericks game protest from their loss to the Hawks. The NBA, depending on that ruling, will decide if Mark Cuban should be punished for entering the court twice during the final moments of the game. Comments made on social media about officiating, the league office's leadership, and individuals overseeing the league's development program. And finally, Queen Elizabeth II has a stand-in to make sure the sun won't get in her eyes. SportsCenter brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead, think advance. At any time, 1 in 4 batteries is about to fail. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase only at Advance Auto Parts. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Happy 82nd birthday, number 82, to Nike head Phil Knight.
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
So Billy is wanting to file an apology here for things said previously because of new information accrued this weekend. Mike Ryan has told me that the surfer hockey dude who is far away from the mic is someone who is upset about the things going on with the trade deadline.
Dude, I am incensed right now. You see this latest transaction?
I was teasing you.
Did you see it? Bro, zip me up. Zip me up real quick.
I was about to get to it. There was something else. I want to get to this 9-year-old who might not be a 9-year-old in Australia.
Did you see the Panthers traded Brochek? Did you see the Panthers traded Brochek?
They did.
They didn't even get a defenseman, dude. Yeah. They needed a bolster to the defense. We traded Brochek for 2 forwards that aren't as good as Brochek. That's like getting a fish taco without the pico. It's like going to Lime and having the chips without the queso, dude. It's like riding the tubes at Bologna Beach and not seeing the ocean glassy. You all get the reference, right? Why'd we trade Brochek? Is this a contract thing? I'm so disappointed.
So David Ayres is going to join us to help us talk hockey more
Take
seriously.
A flyer on the Flyers to win the East. Huge juice, bro.
David Ayres is the Zamboni driver who, for either $0 or $500, depending on which report you believe, won an NHL game yesterday as the emergency goalie. He's going to join us in a half hour. But, Billy, the over-the-top Miami Heat celebration of Dywane Wade, an entire weekend, the Miami Heat setting the standard for the industry, not basketball, sports, on how to go big on retiring one of your legends.
How to overdo it.
Right down to the jersey.
It was over the top, loud, and Miami. The party started Friday, and Saturday was the ceremony. So it was party Friday, ceremony Saturday. Sunday was everyone walking around hungover because it had to be 3 days in honor of Dywane Wade's number 3. But the Dywane Wade movie came out last night and showed you he's been working on a documentary for a long time. He and his wife lived their life very publicly. He does not mind showing you warts and all. And Billy, what kind of remorse did you feel watching the movie?
Remorse is a strong word. I'd say I felt a little bit bad about criticizing him.
It's important that we get the fractions on your remorse right.
Well, again, remorse is a bit strong. I felt a little bit bad about the things. Let's just say I felt a little bit bad about sticking to facts. Is that fair?
Well, what happened? Explain to me. You were critical.
Well, you know how this city is and these fans. This is the thing. And Dan, you're partially to blame for this. I'm just going to say it right now. You're partially to blame for this. So Miami gets a rap as being like bad fans, right? So then there's like an overcorrection where it's like, no, we're going to be good fans. So then when like certain Judases come back to this town, they get like these standing ovations because you come out and you're like, come on, guys, we have to be thankful and remember all the great things and blah, blah, blah. All of that nonsense, right? So they're like, okay, well, we don't want to be the bad fans to America, which is the stupidest thing ever. America thinks we're bad fans. We're good fans. Who cares what America thinks if you're a good fan or a bad fan? That's so ridiculous. But we want to come out and not be bad fans in front of America. So LeBron comes back and we give him a standing ovation. And Wade comes back and we give him a standing ovation. You know, and I'm just out there telling you, hey, you know what? They didn't have to leave. If they really wanted to be here, they could have stayed here. You know what I mean? Like, no one forced them out. They didn't exactly get traded. They chose to leave.
The Miami Heat offered Dywane Wade 2 years, $40 million to stay, and he chose to go to Chicago.
Luckily for the Heat, by the way, because that contract would have been a disaster, right? Wouldn't it have been?
Well, what did you feel a little bit bad about? Are we going to get to
Well,
that?
I feel bad about this. I feel bad about being like the guy that's out here saying like, I don't know if that's exactly how things happen.
But the watch
really seems to be killing you.
Well,
I mean,
because you guys are like trying to drag it out of me. Like I feel bad having to be the guy out here instead of pitching these fairy tales that Dan likes to tell everybody about Wade
But
after he
I
drove
thought
him out
you
of
felt
town.
bad watching the movie, that
What?
there were details in the movie. You said you felt a little bit bad
Yeah, I
watching
felt a little
the
bit
movie.
bad. I felt a little bit bad. Dywane Wade, I don't know if you know this, Dan. Rough life. Had a bit of a rough life growing up, and then there was the whole thing. He felt betrayed by the Heat. That's really when I started feeling bad. It was the whole like, I came on, and instead of talking about how he was coming back, I was talking about Forged in Fire, and maybe, I should just let him have his day. Actually, now that we're talking this out, I don't really feel that bad anymore because he had his day that day, and he's had 7
He's had
days
so
since
many
then.
days.
There's been so
He's had
many days.
so many
How
days.
many days does one person need?
It really is. It
Too
is
many
It
days.
is an amazing amount of days that Dywane Wade has gotten to celebrate
He
the
came back
greatness
with
of
the Bulls. Did he come with the Cavs, or was he not
Yes,
there long
he was
enough
there
to even
for a
come back?
while. I don't know whether
He was there like 8 minutes, right? How long was he on the Cavs?
not very
Cup
long.
of coffee,
Yeah.
as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Then he had a day when he came back with the Heat, and then he had a whole season full of days where everybody was giving jerseys. Enough days, man. How many days do you need?
Chris,
I'm
what-
glad we talked this out.
What did you end up doing with your conflict at home, whether to go to the Dywane Wade party or your wife wanted to go see Seinfeld? You lost that one, right?
Are you kidding? Yeah, I went to Seinfeld. I didn't go to D-Wade. But apparently I saw the Friday night stuff, and that stuff seemed more fun, so I saw the good stuff, I think. The jersey retirement seemed to be just, That jersey, is it bigger than the other ones? It seems like the size of the court.
Right. It should be bigger than the other ones. It's not, but it should be.
I think Shaq's is the biggest, or is Hardaway's the biggest? Is Hardaway's
They're all the
They're
same
all the
size.
same size. That's how that works with banners.
Things have to be uniform, guys.
They look,
It's not-
Not Wade's,
some
though.
of
I
them
bet
look
you.
bigger-
Watch, this is going to be bigger.
I'm with Chris.
You
on
know, the ones that aren't Hall of Famers actually look bigger because the Heat, for whatever reason, like when you get into the Hall of Fame, they add like this little banner at the bottom of it. So it actually makes the Hall of Famers jerseys look smaller than the non-Hall of Famers jerseys.
Poor Tim Hardaway.
Yeah.
Because they're all, I think, going to be Hall of Famers at some point, and then
Yeah.
just poor little Tim.
How big is LeBron jersey going to be? I mean, when Riley gets around to that, probably bigger than Wade's, right? And Bosch's.
I think Marino has the biggest jersey there.
Maybe Jordan.
Everybody was drunk on Friday night, right? Everybody on stage was drunk. You got to see Udonis Haslem, who was a little bit loose. Roy ended up feeling pity for Udonis Haslem because they put him in the Dywane Wade game, and he missed all 4 of his shots, including a dunk that had Dwayne laughing at him while on the broadcast.
Oh, my God. That missed dunk.
The missed dunk was bad.
The entire press row just put their hands on their head like, no, Udonis, no.
He must have been hungover because, yes, Friday night he was, I mean, it's reckless to say drunk, but they were definitely on stage, and Udonis was not shy about getting out there and stealing. There were a few points where it was like you could tell everyone was looking at him like, this is a Wade moment. Like, we're clapping here. Like, you don't need to, like, he was getting a little handsy with the mic.
There was one point during the shift where he was stuck in the backcourt limping. Like, I'm not going down there. I'm not going down there to play offense. No, I'll wait for you guys to come right back down here.
How about you, Mike, as the emotional Heat homer? Did you the rap song with Rick Ross, cool or embarrassing? Which one is it?
It's from Miami. The beat kind of rides.
I like it.
I mean,
It's bad, guys. It's
What?
bad. It's not good.
No, I wouldn't say it's bad.
It's Rick Ross. I mean, it's
Rick Ross.
if you've
and
listened to
Dwayne
Rick
Wade,
Ross through the years, that's a Rick Ross song. They all
No.
sound like
Yeah.
that.
If that wasn't Dywane Wade, you'd be laughing at
Yeah.
that.
I kind of feel
If that was Rajon Rondo, you'd be laughing at
Oh,
that.
I would be laughing at that.
Although, no,
That's
you
Wade.
Rondo, I mean.
like they dropped that song like for me. They might as well have just mailed me a CD saying "For You, Mike."
Yeah.
For it, like countless times. By the time I watched the performance back, I was just like nodding my head and like saying the lyrics.
So you didn't think it was corny?
I mean, it is a little corny, but whatever. I like it. You can like some corny things
What's
occasionally.
wrong
Of
with
course you
corn?
can. It's supposed to be
Corn's
corny.
delightful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you like the movie, Dan? Did you watch the movie last
I have
night?
not seen the movie yet.
Oh,
I
very,
watched-
very good. It
The
really
Green?
was. Yeah.
I mean, I got like a very limited time with a newborn, so I chose The Outsider over Dywane. Was that the right decision?
The most interesting part of that for me was Riley just flat out apologizing to Wade.
How bad Riley felt. Yeah.
I mean,
About
you
botching
got-
the end.
Wade got Riley to grovel.
Did,
grovel, and I feel like
grovel.
that's his
Yeah.
biggest achievement.
Did Dan apologize in the documentary? or
No.
You should
No,
have
he
for
didn't.
pushing him out of town. I cried when that happened. Thank you.
Billy and I saw the movie at the American Airlines Arena, and I gotta tell you, Not the best place to watch a movie.
Thank
Not
you,
acoustically
thank
sound.
Thank you. I didn't want to say it. Acoustics, horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. There needed to be subtitles. I couldn't hear half of what was going on.
I
in
left
that
after
movie.
20 minutes of that film. I was just like, my TV's bigger at my house from this distance.
Oh.
I was sitting in like the 100s, and I'm like, I thought they'd pull out a big screen, and it was just the jumbotron. Like, so it was like 1,000 feet away of just a little screen. I was like, I'm outie. Thank you, Heat, for giving us those tickets, by the way.
Look, I don't dance now. I make money moves.
You left after 20 minutes? You're like, these seats are not good
Because it
enough?
was like they said, the acoustics, it was very echoey. There was parts where they'd put up little things for me to read, and I couldn't read them.
How many people were there? Did you guys feel like VIPs? You got an email with a screening, and then they put you, in the bad seats?
I was just general
Anyone could have
admission.
gone if they
Yeah,
paid
it was-
$3.
Really?
It was like the lower level was probably a third full, a half full.
Well, that sounds sad. That sounds like the litter that's left after a parade in a town.
Well, Wade didn't even show up till half an hour late, so we were just waiting around for him to start.
When did they show it? I'm sorry, when?
Sunday afternoon.
That's a big ask after a 2-day celebration, isn't it?
Started at 3:30.
Oh,
Imagine
boy.
that.
It's like the brunch after a wedding, and it's like, enough already, wedding. You know, I don't need to go to a brunch the day after the
I've had
wedding.
enough.
Enough of these activities.
It is so very Miami for it to be a 3:30 celebration in honor of Dywane Wade and the number 3. And then all of a sudden, Chris Cody leaves at 3:50. The Black Tux people, remember the team you showed up to your cousin's wedding wearing a basketball jersey and the time, excuse me. You didn't do this. The Black Tux, Stugotz, tell them.
Whatever. The Black Tux believes every groom deserves a better experience when it comes to finding formal wear, a suit or tuxedo for their big day. Did you know the Black Tux was actually started by 2 guys who had one of the worst tuxedo fittings you can imagine? It turns out they aren't alone in this frustration. Just listen to these 1-star reviews from competitor tux shops that shall not be named. Go elsewhere. This place is pretty terrible unless you're dressing like your grandpa for Halloween. We felt weird buying a suit from somebody so unhappy. We were afraid his bad vibes might follow us to our wedding day, so we left. Whether you are buying your outfit or looking to rent, you won't find a formal wear experience or designs like the ones you'll find at the Black Tux. We've all used them here on the show. We love them. We swear by them. If you want your wedding to be remembered for the right reasons, order your suit or tuxedo at theblacktux.com and enjoy 10% off with code Dan. That's theblacktux.com, code Dan, for 10% off your purchase. The Black Tux, formal wear for the moment.
You're listening to the sensational Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
If you missed any of our interviews, check them out on demand in the Dan Le Batard podcast, brought to you by the Capital One. Why settle for average? It says the Capital One. I'm just telling you. The Capital One. Typo. Why settle for average? And I'm not blaming anyone. With Capital One, you can open a savings account with a rate 5 times the national average. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Capital One NA, member FDIC. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
You owe $5 from
What?
Friday. From Friday, you owe $5 for reading the internet wrong. And
here.
having Kurt Warner from Thursday, I should say.
Oh.
Having Kurt Warner reading the internet wrong and having him as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
I mean, Thursday, Friday, that's a fine for you, so let's call it even.
You never paid. You owe $5.
I thought I paid.
You did not pay.
Oh, well, I'm not going to pay today, so no money.
All right, $6.
What?
Put it on the put it in the IOU bucket. He owes $6 to go with the rest of the times that he hasn't paid anything. The Zamboni driver, who was the emergency goalie in an NHL game last night and won the game, will join us in about 10 minutes. The internet was having some fun with Jason Tatum's tattoo yesterday. Tatum had a big game against the Lakers. LeBron closed it late. We seem to be headed toward Lakers-Bucks Maybe somebody can get in the way of that, but it seems
Kawhi might.
He might. But we seem to be headed, yes, to Lakers and Bucks. And Jason Tatum's tattoo, if you're going to get a God's will tattoo, you got to have the apostrophe. Put it on the poll, Guillermo, at Levitard Show. If you're going to get a tattoo that reads God's will, do you have to include the apostrophe?
Right, because now it just feels like it's an incomplete sentence. However,
what are God's going to do?
I think this is a win for Jason Tatum because I think he ended up getting one of the coolest nicknames in all of sports now. His nickname in many group chats now is God's Will. That is badass. God's Will went off for 40 last night.
Gee, Will.
Oh, man.
A lot of people are enjoying that. Is it? Do we ever get to the bottom of what Yao Ming said, that Kenyon Martin had a tattoo that he thought meant warrior, but actually meant noodles?
He kept telling us that it was noodles. So that's the story that I've gone with.
Happy 54th birthday to Billy Zane.
And happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
I have a child.
I heard you guys talking about the XFL. You guys are still into this. You're still following it in week 3. Billy is talking about it. Stugotz is talking about it. Mike won't shut up about it.
This is legit. If it were an act, I would have given up on watching every snap after 3 weeks. But I love this sport. I like all the things that they put in place to make it an easier watch. The games fly. There's no downtime. They actually meant it when they said, more ball, less stall. And it's rang true every week. Now, there are still some bad quarterbacks, which is disappointing, especially when you have the advantage of the coach in your headset until you snap the ball. However, the football quality isn't bad for the most part. I'm having a lot of fun watching.
The games have been exciting. I didn't go into it thinking I was going to see the NFL. I went into it thinking, wow, I could continue to gamble on football past the early February, and I am gambling on football, and that alone is good enough for me.
It doesn't seem like it's an advantage to have your coach in your head when your coach is Mark Trestman, because every single week Trestman has the ball on like 1st and goal from like the 1 or 2 yard line and somehow fails to get any points. The Vipers should be better. They should be scoring touchdowns.
They were the title favorite entering the season.
I don't know how every time they're down there, they have 1 or 2 yards to go. They can't put it in.
Also, the NFL must be slapping themselves over the forehead because this whole Bud Light Seltzer sponsorship is the best thing going in sports. The victory team, they have their celebration. The winning team goes into the locker room, goes into the Bud Light Seltzer lounge, and just starts crushing Bud Light Seltzers.
I like everything going on around the game. I like the access of hearing coaches talk to players, refs talking about reviews, crazy fans. But then I start watching the actual play, and I'm just like, meh.
That's where I am with. That's where I am entirely. I actually think that the access is something that the NFL can learn from, and it's about the only thing they can learn.
You guys clearly have not watched the Battlehawks. I mean,
clearly.
that team could play in the NFL.
Yeah.
For the love of football, man.
They
Jeez.
can, actually.
Yeah.
They aren't in the NFL.
No, they can, though.
Did you guys see history? We had our first kickoff return for a touchdown, and Landry Jones threw a ball that got batted at the line. He caught it, and then he threw it again.
Wow.
Yep.
Because it's legal in the XFL.
But he's the Jameis Winston of the XFL. I mean, 3 picks, 3 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, and just about every week.
Emergency goalie joins us next.
Doesn't get any better than the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Billy's sitting here just obsessed with the Marlins.
Yeah.
Chris doesn't actually care about the Heat. Roy, some way that's inexplicable, is doing nothing but watching NHL.
Well, he's got 3 teams.
Right, the 3 teams. He's got to follow the 3 non-playoff teams he's got in the NHL.
None of them are playing, by the way.
By the way, he has 4 teams now because Vegas. So he's got a playoff team.
Yeah, 2 each coming.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
The odds of having 3 teams in the NHL
Right.
be your favorite teams and none of them making the playoffs.
sports yesterday than Dave Ayres and what he was in the middle of. He's a Zamboni driver who's an emergency goalie. He's there in case either team needs an emergency goalie. And at 42 years old, he gets into the game and wins the game 6-3. So, Dave, thank you for joining us. What was your day like yesterday before that hockey game? Can you take us through what it is that happened there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, yesterday was definitely a different day. It was a lot of fun, that's for sure. But, before I got to the game, it was just a regular kind of day for me. I went to the gym, and I actually went to the gym and did heavy leg workouts. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to get in tonight. I'm just going to get my leg work in now. And sure enough, in the second period, my legs were weak.
You're thinking today's the day, really?
Yeah, really?
I did legs today.
Yeah. So you get the call, and what happens? Like in terms of nerves, in terms of surprise, what happens?
Yeah, well, the first one, when Reimer went down, it's kind of a normal for me. It's not the first time. It's happened 4 times for me. So I thought, just get half dressed and watch the game in the media room or whatever. And then Mrazek goes down, and they come to get me, and I'm like, here we go. So I was excited. I wanted to get in there, and then obviously your nerves kick in when you hit the ice. So, but it was a lot of fun, which was good, and I thanked them for that one. But I was looking forward to getting on the ice.
This is a hockey goalie, Dan. Of course he expects to win. I mean, what do you think? What kind of mentality do you think a hockey goalie has? He's made it to the highest level, the big show.
I mean, these guys usually don't win, Stugotz. The emergency goalie is not usually the winning goalie.
That's true. Usually you're expected to go out there and let 10 goals in, right? So I think that was the consensus of most of the people in the building that, look at this is going to be a high-scoring game. So, it started off that way when I went in there, but I got lucky and made a couple saves.
What were the most emotional moments for you?
I think obviously the celebration at the end. I catch the puck with less than a second to go, and then the team ends up swarming me, and it was fantastic. They were just kind of jumping on the ice, and then they celebrated like crazy. And then I go back into the dressing room, and they're pouring water all over me, and they're celebrating again. So it was just great to see how pumped they were to win that game, and they tried so hard and they played so well in front of me, and they were just happy the whole time. And that I'll never forget that moment.
What's life been like for you since that night?
There's a lot of staying awake and very little sleep. I haven't really been able to answer many messages. My phone has not stopped since I got off the ice. So, but hey, I guess it's all part of it, and it's a great honor for sure.
Do you have an agent? Like you need to start. How do you turn this into opportunity?
I know. I should probably figure that one out, shouldn't I?
I mean, you're 1-0.
You shouldn't be sitting here talking to us instead of figuring out the opportunities. This didn't pay anything, right? There's no pay. You paid for free. You played for free yesterday, right?
I did. You're right. It's all about the memories at that point.
And so how does that work, though? Is there going to be some compensation? Will the players throw in some money for you?
Yeah, they did. They were really good. They knew, and then they just kind of chucked me a couple bucks, which was great of them. I obviously didn't expect it, but they were great. So they threw me a couple dollars. It was fantastic.
Well, a couple of dollars. It's probably a little better than a couple of dollars,
I would
right?
hope so.
Like what? How does that cash transaction take place? Not that you want to talk about the taxes you have to pay. I don't understand. I don't know how that works over there. But what can you tell us about how much they gave you?
Yeah, they each guy gave me a couple dollars, and they were great. And one of the guys just came up. I didn't even expect it. He just came up. He's like, "Here you go. Thanks for helping us out." And that was it. I don't expect it, and I didn't. Obviously not asking for anything, except for the fact that we won, and they let me keep my jersey, and they've got the puck. They're going to frame the puck for me, and my stick ended up going to the Hockey Hall of Fame, which is kind of cool too. So a lot of good memories out of that one.
How does the evening work for you after that kind of emotion? Like, do you have trouble sleeping? Are you wired?
I was wired. I left the rink probably an hour and a half after the game was over, and I was wired for sound. I went home and I thought, I'm going to try and get some sleep, and I couldn't sleep. I maybe got 2 hours that night, and I think I got 4 hours last night. So kind of running on a little bit of fumes here, but it's great.
If Carolina goes on to win the cup, are you expecting a ring? You should. I mean, I could be your agent if you want.
100%. That would be the best for sure.
Okay. 80-20, my one.
What is something that surprised you about the experience?
Yeah, I know how the hockey guys are, and they're very welcoming, but I was surprised how welcoming these guys were. They were just so on fire. They were so happy. They were just, from the time I stepped on the ice, they were so, like, the guys were so pumped, and they just wanted to get out there and have some fun. So that was, like, one of the most memorable things about the whole day is just how excited the team was. They didn't even know me. I knew 2 guys on the team, and other than that, they didn't know me, and they had my back. So that was awesome.
What is your normal job?
I'm the operations manager at the old Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Mattamy Athletic Center.
So is that, forgive my ignorance, is that maintenance work?
Kind of. It's just I do all the operations department, like anything kind of maintenance has to get fixed, or events we have or setups, like they go from hockey to a show or to basketball or whatever event is in there. I oversee the conversions and stuff like that, and all the scheduling and whatnot for the building.
Dave, I'm being serious here because you had a taste of it, a taste of the big show. Will it be difficult for you to go back to being a Zamboni driver?
Yeah, I don't really drive the Zamboni anymore. I think it's been 5 years since I drove it steadily, but I do it like maybe once a week here and there now. But I'm excited to go back to work, to see all the coworkers there. I know the Carolina's selling T-shirts with my name on the back, and half the proceeds are going to Kidney Foundation, which is great. And I know that all my coworkers at work have bought them. Actually, the boss bought a bunch of them for everybody in the office, so I'll go back, and that'll be pretty cool.
Because you had a transplant, right?
Yeah, I had a kidney transplant 15 years ago, so we decided to donate to the kidney transplant or Kidney Foundation.
When's the last time you had played in a professional hockey game?
Funny thing was, I didn't actually play, but I sat on the bench for Charlotte Checkers February 1st, which is Carolina's AHL team. So I was out there and took warm-ups with those guys and just sat on the bench for the rest of the game. But I've done it a few times. For the Toronto Marlies, I did the same thing. But that was the most time I spent on the ice in a pro game.
Dressed or played?
That was the most I played. I dressed, and the only thing I ever did was the warm-ups with all the other teams, and then just sat on the bench.
So when was the last time you played a professional game of any sort?
That was it. That was pretty much the pro game I had. Everything else was just kind of minor hockey.
Going out on top. I mean.
All right. So yeah, you retire. Well, you're not retired, right? You're looking to get another chance, right? You're rooting for injuries now.
I still have a full schedule left with Toronto as emergency goalie. Like Saturday night, I'm the emergency goalie again. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll have to go in for another team, or maybe I'll just get to sit there and eat something and watch the game.
We could use you in Florida, bro. Bobrovsky's killing me.
Had you eaten anything you shouldn't have eaten on your leg day before going out onto the ice because you didn't think you were playing?
I had a Reuben sandwich right before the game. It was fantastic. It was so good.
Did you have any beers at the game or anything?
Any beers? That's a good question.
No, that's part of the contract. No drinking at the game, right? So much for that one.
And so you're alleging you've never had a beer during the game while you're working?
That's true. No beer at all. I actually don't drink very often because of my kidney transplant. But yeah, I'm not a beer guy, but everybody around me was definitely drinking beer, that's for sure.
It would have been great for you to take the ice with a little liquor on your breath. It would have been. Dave, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, congratulations.
Pay that man his money.
Advance Auto Parts, we ask you to support the people who support us, and Advance Auto Parts does support us. Tell them, Stugotz.
Yep, the football season is over. Now your Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays are dreadfully open until August. Luckily, Advance Auto Parts has something productive you can do to fill the time. Getting your vehicle's battery tested. It's free, and if your battery is low, they'll install your new one for you with purchase. Plus, enter the code DAN20 when you buy online to save 20%. That's DAN20. The only shame is how fast you'll get in, out, and back to twiddling your thumbs until football starts up again. Think ahead. Think Advance. Only at Advance Auto Parts.
The best in the business. Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
If Masvidal says you are walking me into the octagon Saturday night, Madison Square Garden, I will hop on a bird tomorrow and get myself to New York. Maybe Masvidal doesn't want me walking him into the octagon. It's a bad look. Not in shape. I'm flubby. I mean, I don't know.
You're Stugotz, man.
Flabby?
Flabby,
I
fat.
mean, you
I'm
just
out
made
of
a
shape.
flub, so
Yeah.
I guess you are flubby.
Flabby and chubby. Flabby and
Flubby.
chubby.
And in the Dan Le Batard podcast, brought to you by Capital One. With Capital One, you can open a new checking or savings account with no fees or minimums. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Approval required. Capital One NA, member FDIC. Dan, it's time for Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless.
We've got some Max Kellerman sound to play for you. We also need to talk about the costume party entrance that Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury partook in before that heavyweight fight. But, Chris, before we go down that path, have you gotten any good answers from anybody on what's going on with Trey Wingo?
I have not. And for people that don't know, he sent out a picture. It was in the evening, which made me think that he was up to some funny business, implying that there was a bear outside his window. But it was during the day this said picture was sent. Well, because like what turns out is this picture that he sent out is a famous internet picture of a bear. So it was a fake picture. So
Right. Was he pretending that it was in his backyard, and then it was revealed, hey, that's a picture we've all seen before?
Now, I tuned in a little bit to Golik and Wingo today to see if because I would have assumed they were spending the whole show on this. They were not. So I haven't heard him speak on this, and I tried to talk to some people, but I didn't get any responses. Very dark this morning. The people I'm trying
Wingo's always out there listening to the show and calling in when he's got an opinion on something. And Wingo has some very strong opinions. Do you think that this is a source of shame? Did he delete the tweet? Do we still not know what's going on there?
I don't have an answer to it, but I don't know. He's either a genius or he did something really dumb. So it's one of those two things. So I'm very interested to find out to him. Maybe he'll call in and tell us.
He got a lot of new followers, did he not, Trey Wingo? I mean, I think he did. And I think the tweet is still up there. I mean, listen, that's a reason to trick people, get some new followers, is it not?
You think we're tracking Trey Wingo's followers like on a day-to-day basis?
I don't think he is either. I think he's just speaking to speak. Like, he's not tracking anybody's followers. He's just throwing that out there because he's probably looking at whatever his bets are for the day on whatever strange tournament in tennis there is. And he looks up and he saw us looking at him and he's like, oh, I've got to talk. And he's like, maybe it increased his followers. I'll go down that path.
I'm telling you, the guy's at 1 million followers. He was not at 1 million before he sent the picture out of a bear.
You don't know that.
I'm telling you, okay?
So there's like a thing like,
What does that mean? We know you're telling us. It doesn't mean anything that you're telling us.
I mean, I don't have the advanced metrics, the stats on everything here, but I am doing research. I'm thinking that Trey has gained at least 250,000 followers after sending that out. I'm serious. I'm testing his producer right now. I'm not even joking. He said he gained a lot of followers.
You're making things up.
So it's time for bed, and Abby's like, John, because I'm assuming she doesn't call you Stugotz. It's time for bed. And you're like, hold on, Abby, 1 second. I need to see how many followers Trey and Gojo
Every
and
night,
Mike
yes.
and Stan Barrett have.
Yes.
He barely gained any followers.
What?
So let's play this Max Kellerman. Go sit in the penalty box for 2
What?
minutes. Just get out of here for 2 minutes.
I'm unfollowing Chris.
Let's unfollow Stugotz. Let's all of us unfollow Stugotz. No, you can stay. I'm kicking Stugotz out.
You are unbearable today.
Did you not hear his terrible bear joke? He should go too, I'm telling you. Maybe he didn't catch it. It's awful.
Did no one catch my bear?
I
my
caught
bear
it.
joke?
What was it?
It was barely funny.
No.
Oh, Jesus.
That's it.
No.
Let's get to that Kellerman sound here. Max Kellerman said something here that I wasn't sure I heard correctly when he said it. Now, Max loves his boxing. Max is a lunatic about boxing, and he's got a show on ESPN2 now, Fridays at 5 p.m., Max on Boxing. It's been Max on Boxing since Max Kellerman was like 15 or 14 years old. He had a show in New York that he was doing on like cable access television. He loves boxing so much. But here he sounds like a crazy person.
Everyone's talking about it was a great stoppage. Honestly, I understand why they stopped it.
Right.
The heavyweight championship of the world is the one time where I understand when the fighter says, I'm willing to risk my life to
He
do
should.
this.
Yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice on the altar of greatness.
Yes.
I think the corner has to take that seriously. And Deontay has the kind of power, even though he looked like he was about to topple, he was dangerous until the end. Even as it looked like he wasn't. The man has unnatural power.
He was
Just so you know, you not only got him saying flatly that the heavyweight championship fight is the one place where a guy should be willing to die in order to win, but he got agreement from whomever it is that he was talking to.
I also think he's alleging that Wilder told his corner in like the 5th round while he's bleeding out of his ear, I'm willing to sacrifice myself at the altar of greatness.
Well, he did say he wanted to go
quote?
out. He wanted to go out on his shield, which is in the realm of the same thing. The warrior going out on his shield, but I don't think that Deontay Wilder actually meant that the way that it sounds. I think he meant that he wanted to go out being knocked out instead of quitting, not killed instead of quitting.
Why is this the one division? Is it because they're the heavyweights? Like, what is he doing there with this is the one time when death is enough?
It is an odd thing to say, but again, who was agreeing with him? There is someone you will hear there agreeing with him.
Everyone's talking about it was a great stoppage. Honestly, I understand why they stopped it.
Right.
The heavyweight championship of the world is the one time where I understand when the fighter says, I'm willing to risk my life to do this.
He should. Yeah.
I'm willing to sacrifice on the altar of greatness.
Yes.
I think the corner has to take that seriously. And Deontay has the kind of power, even though he looked like he was about to topple, he was dangerous until the end. Even as it looked like he wasn't. The man has unnatural power.
He was
A new 30 for 30 from us debuts next.
There is nothing better than the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
So we're going to get to this 30 for 30 that Stugotz pitched to ESPN executives. He's always pitching things. He's always pitching things to everybody. He's always got a deal or a scam or an idea that someone else has to do the work on in order to get it done. And this one was rejected by ESPN because ESPN joined the Miami Heat for an entirely over-the-top celebration. There's a new standard now for how you retire an athlete, and the Miami Heat and ESPN just set that standard with a movie, with a weekend. He just retired. We just a few minutes ago retired, and we spent all of last season celebrating that. And this was big, and it was emotional, and Miami enjoyed the holy hell out of it because we show up for a good party. And so all weekend was a celebration of Dywane Wade's career. But Stugotz was working behind the scenes. He likes to zig when others are zagging. He doesn't want to cover things the way others have covered them. So here is the lost trailer that we found for something that Stugotz was pitching to the big executives at ESPN.
What if I told you Dywane Wade, Heat lifer, Mr. 305, King of Wade County, left for Chicago over a few dollars, calling it a dream come true. That for $13 more, the second city became the first city. That after choosing to sign with the Bulls, Dywane Wade gave a classy public endorsement of the franchise and young talent he decided against signing with, the Denver Nuggets. That he was 305 till I die, until another team offered him slightly more money to play with Doug McDermott. That shortly after signing with the Bulls, Dywane Wade surprised festival goers at Lollapalooza and joined Chance the Rapper on stage. It would be the only time in Chicago he would let someone younger be in the limelight. That years after injuring Heat rival Rajon Rondo to swing a playoff series, Dywane Wade goes up against Rondo again. Only problem being that they are teammates in Chicago when it happens. That Miami told them they'd leave a key under the mat, but midway through the next season, they gave the keys to Dion Waiters. That he got bought out and actually ended up losing money, chasing money in Chicago. That after clearing waivers, he could have returned to the turquoise waters of South Beach, but instead picked the donkey brown waters of Lake Erie. That after teaming with LeBron in Cleveland, Dywane Wade calls the duo of James and himself peanut butter and jelly, which quickly becomes just peanut butter after Wade is kicked out of the starting lineup days later. That J.R. Smith, who once slid into the DMs of a woman to ask if she wanted to get the pipe, objects to the Heat lifer taking some of his starting minutes by saying, "I'm not going to get into a measuring contest with Dywane Wade." That the Cavs felt Rodney Hood was a better fit. That after averaging a career low 11 points per game, all Wade could fetch was a protected second-round pick. That home is where the playing time is. That Miami welcomed him back with open arms as long as he was willing to come off the bench. That he sent out a joyful video proclaiming he was happy to be coming back to Wade County. That he's lucky Haslam doesn't rhyme with Dade. That if we renamed Broward County after him, we would have called it Coward County.
Oh, come on.
What happened? ESPN Films presents
Jesus.
Legacy, the 30 for 30, that reminds you that Dywane Wade's number was 3 because a 3-night celebration and the 50-foot tall banner with the number 3 on it weren't enough. Also, leg of 3 didn't sound right.
Look, I don't dance now. I make money moves.
That's wrong.
What happened?
It's wrong. It's not the day for that.
You're a scoundrel.
It's not the weekend for that.
Howard County, though. I mean.
You like that? I don't know how that got in there.
I used the black tux when I had to attend Pablo Torre's wedding. And it looked good, man. I was surprised. I don't mean to sound so surprised, but when I look good, I'm surprised.
I got married in a black tux.
That's a good endorsement. There you go. Tell the people about Black Tux, Stugotz.
Yep, the Black Tux believes every groom deserves a better experience when it comes to finding formal wear, a suit or tuxedo for their big day. We've all used them here. Billy got married in Black Tux. Mike Golick Jr. also got married from a tuxedo from the blacktux.com. He did. How about that?
When did he get married?
I'm sorry. He went to a wedding. I'm sorry. He showed up to a
How
wedding.
about that? There you go. How about that? How about that?
He showed up to his Super Bowl week.
There it is.
I believe it was his brother's wedding.
There it is.
I think his brother wore it to the wedding.
It doesn't matter what
Jake
you believe.
Golick,
All
Super
right,
Bowl week.
Nothing that you say matters.
I didn't
It's
ask for that.
always wrong.
Anyway, Aqua, did you know the Black Tux was actually started? I just married Gojo. Did you know the Black
Congratulations.
Tux thank you, was actually started by two guys who had one of the worst tuxedo fittings you can imagine? It turns out they aren't alone in this frustration. Just listen to these one-star reviews from competitor tux shops that shall not be named. Go elsewhere. This place is pretty terrible, unless you are dressing like your grandpa for Halloween. We felt weird buying a suit from somebody so unhappy we were afraid his bad vibes might follow us to our wedding day, so we left. Whether you are buying your outfit or looking to rent, you won't find a formal wear experience or designs like the ones you'll find at the Black Tux. If you want your wedding to be remembered for the right reasons, simple. Order your suit or tuxedo at theblacktux.com and enjoy 10% off with code Dan. That's code Dan for 10% off right now at theblacktux.com. The Black Tux, formal wear for the moment.
Mi familia, Dan and Stu will be back on ESPN Radio.
Today is for doing, and today we celebrate the Great Eight. On Saturday afternoon, the Washington Capitals lost to the New Jersey Devils 3-2, 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the third period. Alexander Ovechkin had tied the game at 2. That goal was the 700th of his career. He joins Wayne Gretzky, the great one, Gordie Howe, Jaromir Jagr, Brett Hull, Marcel Dion, Phil Esposito, and Mike Gartner as the only players in NHL history to reach the milestone. Today is for doing, and it's brought to you by the Home Depot. With everything you need to do projects smarter, faster, and easier, welcome to today's Home Depot, how doers get more done.
Stugotz's weekend observations are coming up here in about 12 minutes. Initial reporting here reveals, without any knowledge of what the sentence will be just yet, that Harvey Weinstein has been convicted of 2 of the 5 counts against him. Do we know which 2 counts, Roy, that he was convicted of, and do we know the sourcing so that we can tell the people where this is coming from?
Well, he was guilty of committing a criminal sex act in the first degree for one woman and rape in the third degree for another woman. And Jody Cantor is the reporter for the New York Times in that source.
All right, so we will be following that story. That's all the money in the world right there, trying to protect his name. Harvey Weinstein came out very strongly initially, and spent a lot of time backpedaling after that, but then took it to court, and we will see what that means in terms of whether that's light or not as a prison sentence, because I don't think that that's as bad as it could have been, obviously, if if he had been convicted on all counts. But Stugotz's weekend observations are going to be in about 10 minutes. We will get to the fun stuff there in a bit. And I wanted to ask you guys, while telling you a story, what you think of something. Not that long ago, I was watching a video on the internet. And I can be fooled by the internet very easily because I'm an old person, and I don't tend to go into my internet experiences with a great deal of cynicism about whether or not something is real or not. But I saw a video of a bus driver taking a child off of a bus in a way that was excessively aggressive, was a bit violent, throwing the child off of the bus in a way that had people nearby gasping because they thought that this was terribly, terribly wrong, as most people would watching this bus driver just drag the child until the child's face was shown on the camera and it was revealed to be a little person who might have been drinking. He was wearing a parka and stuff. And so in that moment, my emotions changed from being angry watching the video to being like, well, wait a minute, which I know I probably shouldn't have done. However, I thought of it this weekend because a 9-year-old was bullied in Australia. And the reason I'm laughing is because of the way the internet was cynical of the way celebrities were getting emotional about the outpouring about a child being bullied. Any parent can sort of reach out and feel very strongly when watching a video about a child being helpless, looking helpless, being bullied. And a lot of people on the internet, very Stugotzian of them, felt the need to immediately get in there and question whether or not the 9-year-old was 9 or whether the 9-year-old was 18. And I'm just simply willing, after my first experience with this initial video on the bus, to sit out all giving of compassion and emotion until I know whether something is real or not. I'm willing.
Very dangerous.
It is. I'm willing to wait it out until people check some birth certificates and do some stuff and tell me, okay, this is indeed 9-year-old. Don't waste any of your compassion here for someone who's not actually being bullied and may have just been a little person behaving really poorly on a bus.
You're willing not to be first moving forward here?
Yes, I'm willing to sit out any giving of compassion until I know a story is true or not. And it appears that this one is true because the child is now being treated in a way by, the celebrities and soccer teams. He led a soccer team out onto the field the other day. So some caution.
Yeah. Reputable news outlets have confirmed that he's 9 years old.
But the internet gets there fast and furious.
The debates still rage on. Smart move by the family to take down the social media post because there were some very problematic and offensive posts with the child in question. But yeah, he's being brought out at Australian football matches, and celebrities like Hugh Jackman have donated to the cause. He's being given trips to amusement parks. But yeah, good move taking down the social media videos.
I mean, people can be mean, man. The internet seems to exist.
That's obviously off to the side, right, from like what happened to him in that moment. But smart.
That one's going to reach parents every time, though. That one, a child, just not being able to help your child being bullied when your child is alone is it's just one of the points where one of the few where anybody can unite. The idea of a child being bullied, it becomes a little harder when it involves Jonathan Martin and Richie Incognito.
Right. But that connection point will always be there.
The bullying,
right.
yeah,
yes.
The helplessness,
yes.
Right. And this kid suffers from dwarfism, and so that's part of what is, it makes it a heartbreaking video that anybody can have touch points with, but it's also very important for many commenters to get in there first with being cruel, because that's a good thing. All right, weekend observations next.
Buddy, this is the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Despite a week that began with Brooks Koepka saying that he cheated during his previous tournament and being 2 shots behind Bryson DeChambeau with 4 holes to play, Patrick Reed won the World Golf Championship Mexico Championship. Markieff Morris has cleared waivers and signed with the Lakers after they waived DeMarcus Cousins. And finally, a flock of ravens is called an unkindness. They're also known as a conspiracy. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Time now for Stugotz's weekend observations.
It is time for Stugotz to share his game notes. No one in the media will tell you what happened better than my boy Stu.
Weekend observations brought to you by Vivid Seats. Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code ESPN25 at checkout to get 10% off your next order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Dan, shorts and tees, 40 times, high jumps and hand size. Dan, the NFL Combine is back. You watch it?
No.
Oh, okay. It's on prime time. How about that? Little Combine. You really haven't tempted fate until you've flown Frontier Airlines. Must have been a shock to Dan when he realized the Wilder Fury fight wasn't going to start at 9 p.m. sharp. Dan, I was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina over the weekend, and of course, you know what that means.
I don't know what
it means. I was in God's country, Dan. Frontier Airlines, where any flight can be your personal, final frontier. Nothing says frontier like no internet access. Got to do what you got to do to get back from Carolina, man. God's country. For those of you thinking that the Maryland women's lacrosse team won't make the Final Four after losing back-to-back games for the first time since 2006, don't do it. I care about you. All 12 of you. Walker to Phillips. Can't stop them. Can only hope to contain them. The executive committee of the NFLPA voting 6-5 against the deal that they negotiated. Executive committee. The Stugotz is strong in you. Jerry Jones dropping a COB while not moving his lips. Collision course. Kevin Gilbride's face really does say it all. Watch the USA Russia Olympic hockey game over the weekend. Got to be honest, Dan. The Russians weren't that good. The Ruskies, a little overrated. This Miracle on Ice. I feel terrible saying that.
No, you don't.
I don't. Trey Wingo over the weekend posting a picture that suggested a bear was at his back door, and that picture being from someone else's house from 2017. Trey, the Stugotz is strong in you. Hal, by the way, can't believe Chris Felica scared someone like that back in 2017. Baylor was not the only bear to not show up over the weekend. According to Trey, Fury Wilder 3 would be unbearable. Max Kellerman saying he honestly understood why Wilder's corner stopped the fight, and in the next breath suggesting Wilder's corner should have taken the risk of Wilder dying in the ring. Seriously, Max, the Skip Bayless is strong in you. Chad Johnson having to hold Mike Tyson back from killing Chad's cameraman. Dan, the heavyweight division is back. Also, good to see all that marijuana is having a positive impact on Mike Tyson. Blues, Flyers, Lord Stanley, Collision Course, Death, Taxes, me, always laughing at Liberty Bibberty. Went to Pro Football Talk for my weekly Sunday visit, and 4 of the first 5 headlines were something crazy Jim Irsay had said. You know how baseball players get randomly drug tested after having a good game? Same thing should happen to Jim Irsay when he spends an entire weekend talking. Mike Fiers was greeted with cheers before his first spring training start. Let's recap what Mike Fiers actually did. Partook in the sign stealing, benefited and prospered from the sign stealing, has a World Series ring in part because of the sign stealing, only put a stop to the sign stealing after the sign stealing stopped helping him and actually hurt him. This is all very confusing. The Bucks are 48-8. That's all I got. 24 of 36, 306 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 4 carries, 34 yards, another touchdown, great presence, amazing personality. Dan, you know what PJ Walker has?
It.
He has the it factor, Dan. Very good. And by it factor, I mean the advantage of having June Jones in his helmet until the ball is snapped. 8 catches, 194 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Dan, you know what roughneck wide receiver C. Phillips has in his future?
No.
Sundays, Dan. Just Sundays. That's what he has in his future.
C. Phillips?
I don't know his first name. I don't know any of these guys first. I don't know when they get to the Sundays, NFL, I'll know his first name. Right, for right now, he's C. Phillips. Run the ball. Stop the run. That is Battle Hawk football. Am I right, Mike?
Favorites in the East, no doubt.
I know 4 p.m. isn't typically sleepy time, but when your kids complain they are going to bed so early, kindly explain to them that the Roughnecks and Renegades are playing, and that's no game for a child's eyes. Matt McGloin is awful in any league. This isn't your dad's heavyweight champ named Tyson. Last week, the Lions announced they might take Tua with the 3rd pick in the NFL draft. Over the weekend, they announced they are open to trading the 3rd overall pick. Dan, you know what season it is? It's lying season. And of course, you can't spell lying without the L-I-O-N. Kansas is number 1 in college hoops. Great. When someone has some time, please explain to me how Bill Self still has a job. Though, it's only the 2nd worst cover-up for Bill Self. The worst one presently rests on his scalp. I mean, what the hell is that thing? Speaking of hell, Art Briles. Dan, those are the weekend observations.
I thought you were actually going to go there, Trey Wingo, and calling him Hal. I thought that was going to be your transition into
send these to you.
into Art Briles. We talk about NFL greed.
Everyone's very upset.
Next.
Pay that man his money.
I know, why? He's good. He's good. Love it, man.
You know what he has?
It factor. Yeah.
Are you looking for a new battery? Look no further than Advanced Auto Parts. Here is Stugotz to tell you more.
I love stats. I get goosebumps just thinking about QBRs and true shooting percentages. But one stat you need to know is your car battery's charge. Advanced Auto Parts will test your battery for free, and if it's low, they'll install a new one for you with purchase. And you can save 20% when you buy online by entering the code DAN20. That's DAN20 when you buy online. Then you can get back to poring over every stat from your favorite sport. Think ahead, think advance, only at Advanced Auto Parts.
You're listening to the Sweaty Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
I think when Magic is saying that kind of stuff, and then there's the dad in a wrestling ring taking his shirt off, doing stuff like that.
Oh, my God.
What happened there?
Do you want a female voice? Because that was the most repulsive thing I've ever heard in my life.
I've been more repulsive.
No,
let's be
no,
honest.
that was as gross as any. That was. You looked. You sounded like you needed an exorcism.
That was vile, Stugotz. Like,
Yes.
I'm physically ill.
Yes, you are disgusting.
Yeah, that was the devil emerging from Hades.
I mean, way to rush to the mic when we don't need you, but when we need you, you're not there for us.
.30 Eastern, about 15 minutes from now, to talk about Wilder and Tyson Fury. Before we get to that, however, I wanted to ask you if you remembered a Mark Cuban quote from 2014 where he predicted the NFL was going to start. He was reacting to expanding of televised games and off-season coverage, and he just thinks the audience is oversaturated on football. And in 2014, he predicted football's demise, saying, just watch, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. When you try to take it too far, people turn the other way. I'm just telling you, when you've got a good thing and you get greedy, it's always, 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 always something that turns on you. That's rule number one of business. I'm just telling you, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And they're getting hoggy. Now, they done been hoggy. And they continue to be hoggy. And the audience rarely objects to the greed. So it's not merely, Stugotz, that they are now going to extra games after saying safety first, and they're trying to negotiate extra games.
Right.
Because why wouldn't they? It's grab it money, grab it money, grab it money. It's also they are continuing, after being a follower here and not any kind of leader, they are continuing now to get sponsorships with sports books in a way that feels a little bit dirty, just like all of the gambling money sponsorship in sports can feel dirty if you're somebody who is hoping that integrity reigns and that you don't have corrupt referees or players. The gambling stuff is really tricky. The NFL certainly doesn't need the money. However, there is only one time that I can remember the American consumer bucking on NFL greed. And it's when the American consumer learned that the NFL was charging the military $5 million for those shows of patriotism on the weekends. And the NFL immediately said, okay, never mind about that.
Right.
But what needs to happen going forward? Because Mark Cuban's going to look wrong on this.
Well, since Mark Cuban said it, there have been two more leagues outside of the NFL. I mean, one has faltered, but the other one seems to be doing pretty well in the XFL. And I think people want more football, and especially NFL football. They want as much NFL football as the NFL is willing to give us, or the players are willing to play.
I just have a hard time finding what is the greed that's going to make the hog get slaughtered. Because what Mark Cuban is saying, he is saying, I'm just telling you, when you've got a good thing and you get greedy, it always, 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 always is something that turns on you. It's rule number one of business. And they've been greedy.
Right.
And they've been greedy in ways that are off-putting. And one time, the greed has come back to cost them $5 million, and that doesn't even pay. $5 million might not be 1% of whatever their beer sponsorship is every year. $5 million might not be not 5% of what their annual official beer sponsorship is. So there is no amount of greed that can make Mark Cuban right.
I mean, now look at, since that comment, the NFL is a much healthier place. Football is in a much healthier place than the NBA. I mean, for the love of football, look in a mirror.
I mean, the ratings are up big time, right? Last year.
I mean, it was back. Football was back last year, and whatever our concerns were and our hand wringing about what Kaepernick was going to do to the league or what injuries and concussions and science were going to do to the league.
I mean, there was something too. The games just weren't good at the time.
They improved the offense.
Yeah,
They
well,
changed
it's not
the
just
rules.
that. The quarterback play just got better. The rules were changing there, but for whatever reason, it was a lot more dink and dunk. We have quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes now that are just putting the ball anywhere.
Can you guys think of a hypothetical other than the one that actually happened, where they were caught charging the military for patriotism in a way that people found unseemly? Can you guys think of a hypothetical example that would make the customer recoil with, I'm not supporting that anymore. You all are too greedy. It's too much what you're giving us.
Maybe if enough fans felt like the games were fixed, maybe if there was an actual fix because of gambling ties.
I'm telling you.
I'm not even certain that would do it, to be honest with you.
The 94 strike is a good example of fairly recent history. Roy came up with that one. That's a good one. But it's, again, Cuban says that.
So it's when the players get greedy that it's a problem.
Well, I mean, that was both. I mean, it's collectively.
But it's when the
bargained
players get
deal.
greedy that it's a problem.
Because we can't watch if the players get greedy.
But it's funny. You know how the NFL also not only had this whole crisis with the public relations stuff. You had Ray Rice and then the Kaepernick thing, but the games just weren't very good. And you have the off-season sort of China scandal, and now you look at the games, and you have people tuning out of the games because James Harden, only threes? I'm not watching that. The games aren't as good anymore.
That is interesting when your product suffers a little bit, and then you've got to change the rules in order to compensate. And the most progressive league in basketball seems to have been surprised by that evolution. Just like baseball was surprised by all of a sudden how quickly it became all or nothing, and they're like, whoa, our games are hard to watch.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see if they actually do anything to the game because they're already looking at, in-season tournaments, some sort of twist.
They already
of the
are.
playoffs.
They already are doing those things.
But what are they going to do? Is it making the court bigger? What are they going to change about the game to sort of account for this new change that isn't as aesthetically pleasing as it maybe was
That
once?
is where you find real leadership. When someone is willing to break free from the things that have worked before because they get initial information that makes them make changes, because there's a great deal of discomfort with changes, but that league seems particularly equipped to change things. I just don't know what advice I would give them on what to change.
I mean, when you're ranking commissioners, Adam Silver is always at the top. Roger Goodell had an absolute crisis. And now you look back on it, fixed in terms of ratings and perception. I know it's still a hot button issue, but it hasn't stopped people from watching the games. People are turning back
They're
to the game.
They're going to get so much
his
gambling
issue.
money.
He
They're going to get so
much gambling
money. And all they did, while Adam Silver was out there trying to be out in front on gambling, they just stayed behind in the background and waited for some of the stigmas to fall, just like they did on marijuana. And now in the CBA, they offer the players marijuana as pain relief now because they just waited out. Instead of leading, it's just follow, 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 grab, 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 greed, 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 and the American customer never gets mad enough to do anything.
Oh, the
about
NFL is still dragging their heels on the gambling thing. They won't let you use their logos on the gambling shows. You see with the ESPN XFL
Oh, but
broadcast.
they're dipping their toe in with the sports books now. They are doing this.
But is it greed? I mean, the money's so much, Dan, and it's so easy. I mean,
yeah, that's kind of
You okay, man?
greed.
yeah, I'm fine. Why?
Because you sound
It's
terrible.
What do you
often
mean?
coming out into your mouth and then you're swallowing. and
My
pushing it
my
down.
voice has been crystal clear the entire morning. Thank you.
You said that totally phlegmy. Rosie Perez
did.
joins us next.
Give me more of the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
Amin El-Hassan, Pablo Torre, and I were at a hotspot in Beverly Hills, and just a table away from us was one Jordan Clarkson, and he was there next to Kylie Jenner.
I wish you'd chosen one of the good stories to tell.
What I want you to take away from that story was I was at a Beverly Hills hotspot. Yeah.
But that's not what I took away from it. What I took away from it is that you're looking over there and you're saying that's Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson is looking at your table and saying That table is the Jordan Clarkson of ESPN.
Yeah. To be fair, Amin called out it was Jordan Clarkson. I wouldn't have.
Amin, Pablo, and you. Jordan Clarkson.
And I called out, oh, there's Kylie.
Before we do that, Stugotz, did you see what happened with Bob Ley this weekend?
No, what happened?
Bob Ley, who is a journalism icon, he has been someone who has been a pillar at ESPN of journalism for a long time, retired here recently, retired pretty quietly. He reappeared out of retirement on a Seton Hall basketball game on the student station, 89.5 WSOU. It's where he started as the program director, and he started his career there. And so he came out of retirement to do a broadcast of Seton Hall basketball.
Bringing it full circle. I mean,
there you go.
Yeah, how about that?
Symbolically bringing it full circle. It's a nice story though. That's a cool story. Not so much cynical Billy. Billy's making a face.
I mean, it's a nice story, but some poor kid probably got bumped for Bob Ley to take the air.
You got me thinking how quiet his retirement was. He deserved a Dywane Wade. We should have given him like 3 full days of just honoring.
Yeah.
Should we do it?
Let's do it. You guys are ready to do it?
But Billy's right about that poor kid, is he not? I mean, Bob Ley has had plenty of chances. Bob Ley's a Hall of Famer. Bob Ley is going to the Broadcasting Hall of Fame, whatever that is, wherever that is.
So you guys have now turned it into that. Okay, very good. Time now as we wait for Rosie Perez for a stat of the day. The short version, Mike, because we don't have a lot of time here. We've got to wait for Rosie
Start
Perez.
of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day. Start of the day, start of the day. It is your start of the day.
Courtesy, Dan, of ESPN Stats and Info, Zion Williamson became just the 4th player since the NBA-ABA merger to record 4 straight 25-point games with 55% shooting in the rookie season via Atalaya Sports. He is averaging 29 points on 60% shooting in that span. He joins Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, and Jay Vincent. I said he was going to be bad.
You didn't say he was going to be bad, but you said Zion, I don't know, is what you said like a day before he started going crazy out there. You said he looks sloppy and he's got a white thing that he wears on his leg.
All right.
That was your analysis.
Now I know.
He's now great. You're good? Now, now you know he's great?
One of the all-time greats.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Stugotz. Rosie Perez is dealing with something right now, so we'll see if we could get her on later this week. In the interim, let us do funniest thing from the sports weekend, please.
Hey, people, tell us what in the sport made you laugh hardest this weekend. It is a segment we call What Made You Laugh This Weekend. Ha ha ha!
Funniest thing from the sports weekend brought to you by Advance Auto Parts. Get a free battery test and free installation with any automotive battery purchase at Advance Auto Parts. Think ahead. Think Advance.
Chris, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Tyson Fury licking blood off of the neck of Deontay Wilder.
That dude, man, he's a gypsy. I'm telling you, it's the movie Snatch. It's Brad Pitt, except 6'9" and 270 pounds of gypsy.
Nice fighter.
Did we pick a winner on the entrances, on who won most ridiculous entrance?
Well, what do you think? Most ridiculous entrance?
They're both pretty ridiculous.
I mean, being carried in a throne by women, Cleopatra-like.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's not ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's the winner, is it not?
I mean, but Deontay was dressed as like a masked singer.
Billy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Former Browns mascot Swagger, Dan, apparently had an open casket funeral over the weekend. Unless the internet lied to me.
No, it was. I thought you could also stream it.
You're going to do something about a dead dog that's funny?
I mean, why? Why do they have an open casket funeral for a dog?
Swagger Jr. was there. I believe one of the local papers put out an image and then had to take it down because Swagger Jr. was a little excited to be there.
Roy, what was the funniest thing from the sports weekend?
Sidney Crosby breaking his stick in frustration in the Penguins' 5-3 loss to the Capitals.
Just because you enjoy Sidney Crosby's misery?
That's damn right, man.
All right, very good. Mike, what was the funniest thing from the sports
We
weekend?
head over to France, where in Ligue 1 there was a huge matchup between the team Brest and a team from Nice. So if you looked at the scoreboard and were American and had no idea how to pronounce these names, it would be Nice versus Brest.
That's what it would say on the scoreboard if you didn't know. If you were just English pronunciations on the words in front of you. One spelled nice and the other one almost spelled the way that Stugotz would spell breast.
Yeah, entering the match, you would have thought it would have been a little lopsided, but it ended in a 2-2 draw, so evenly matched sides, Dan.
Always desirable. Stugotz, funniest thing from the sports weekend.
Udonis Haslem being quoted as saying about the Celtics, if they got a problem with you, they still got a problem with us then. Whatever that is, whatever they want to do. We old. D. Wade retired, CB retired. We got nothing to do but fight. Okay. Oh, God.
That was over Ray Allen. You probably should have mentioned that it was about Ray Allen so people would understand whose back he was taking there.
Oh, sorry, it was Ray Allen.
Yeah, Super Bowl week.
But Haslam scares me, man. That guy. UD.
You guys felt bad for him this weekend, thrown into the Wade game and missing a dunk and running around out there. You guys felt actively bad for Udonis Haslem.
I didn't feel bad for him. I was having a good time watching him.
I felt great for Haslam. I'm not certain he's not the most popular player in Heat history. Seriously. He gets the loudest ovations every time his name is announced. I'm serious.
It sounds like they're booing. They say you.
That jersey retirement, I'm telling you, is going to have a whole different meaning than the Wade jersey. It won't be as long.
It won't be 3 days and come with a documentary.
But it will have a great impact on South Florida. It will. People will be very excited for that weekend.
Maybe it'll be 40 hours.
No doubt beloved.
Maybe it'll be 40 days because the Miami Heat likes to do it with a little bit of excess on it. I'm going with the Saints' menacing pass rusher, Cam Jordan, riding around Mardi Gras with a remote control reclining chair. That's how I want to do that. Get mashed potatoes in my hair, go just wander around with a hurricane, never get out of the chair, just a barca-lounger.
Give me more of the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
If you're just joining us, that wow is because we're watching people make pizzas on ESPN The Ocho.
To show the skill of these people, they should have a common folk, maybe a Mike Golick Jr. type, also trying to do what they're doing. Maybe me.
Well,
I'm
wait
just
a minute.
throwing my hat in the
All
ring.
right, let's do this. We got to do this here. Go down to the Clevelander kitchen. Tell them to give you some pizza dough and see if Stugotz can do this. These people got their pizza big and round in about 4 seconds. You are still pounding the
There are holes in my pizza.
Why did we add water?
Because he said it demanded water. He said that it was important to have water.
He lied.
Okay, but what at any point?
Oh my gosh!
That almost looks inappropriate.
Now you're making.
Oh, flip! Today on ESPN Daily, as mourners gather to honor the lives of Kobe and Gigi Bryant, Ramona Shelburne shares what it's been like inside the Lakers organization since Kobe's death. That's ESPN Daily with Mina Kimes, presented by ADT. Download, subscribe, and review ESPN Daily, available wherever you enjoy your podcasts.
I'm wondering whether any of you had the same experience that I had yesterday, where I'm being sent a video by somebody and they're not explaining what this video is. And so I click on the video and it's a homemade rocket that is being launched into the sky, a homemade rocket. And I don't have any context for what it is that's happening here. And as I'm watching this homemade rocket take off, I'm just sort of looking and I'm like, wow, that's high. And then something falls out of the rocket, and I'm just sort of still watching the rocket, and I'm like, is that part of what has to happen here with the rocket as it takes off, where it has to get rid of something? And then I notice, and I'm like, oh, wait, that's a parachute. And then I'm like, wait a minute, is that the parachute? Does the homemade rocket have another parachute? And then you just see the rocket go 5,000 feet in the air, and then it crashes, and the dude's dead. And this is a guy, Mike Hughes, who did this. This is something that he liked to do. He liked to explore space travel, and he was somebody who was filming a television show while he was doing it. Stugotz, Science Channel, Discovery Channel. And I realized after it's happened, and it happened very quickly, obviously, I'm like, oh, my God, I've just watched a snuff film, because you can't survive from that height. You just see a long distance away the rocket come to the ground in the desert and a big giant plume of smoke. And I'm like, oh, I just witnessed somebody dying on screen here. That's what I just witnessed.
You have some weird friends that are just sending you that video with no explanation.
Right.
So
your question was, did we have this experience?
I don't know what the question is.
I can't imagine that I'm the only one that this happened to yesterday.
Not where I expected the show to end.
Yeah. Also, anytime someone sends me a video, you got to open it on mute nowadays. Yeah. Your friends are always out there to get you, man. Always. All of a sudden, you're in a group like you always. It happens to people all the time now. Assembled media, someone checks their phone, and then all of a sudden there's some moaning. Your friends got you. Your fantasy league group chat got you.
What? That doesn't happen to everybody? That just happens to Mike?
So what happened here? I mean,
one of my first experiences with Charlie. Like, he thought he was watching a Cristiano Ronaldo interview. Your friends got you.
Billy, why are you so fascinated with what's going on with Kim Kardashian? What's going on with you and your fascination?
Man. You're really going to have – I only have 4 minutes to get into this, Dan.
Only 4 minutes?
Dan, Kim Kardashian thinks that her son is her father reincarnated as her son. So it's the classic father-daughter, mother-son situation where the father is now the son of the daughter, whose daughter is now his mother. I mean, how many times have we seen this one? This is great. Is this not great? And multiple people, Dan, have told her that this is the case. So it's not just one person said, like a medium said, hey, this is your dad reincarnated into your baby. No. Multiple people have said that to her, Dan.
Don't you think that these people are just humoring her?
No. How can multiple people get that same thing? Whoa.
You think Kim Kardashian surrounds herself with people that just tell her what she wants to hear?
Wait, are you guys saying like this isn't like legit?
For the love of football.
You don't think this is real? Is that what you're saying?
That she believes that?
No, that's the case.
There's reason for skepticism, yes.
Really?
Yes. I feel like you don't actually have 4 minutes on this.
Thank God. Thank you.
That a minute was plenty.
I feel like there was plenty of space there for you to go ahead and make something out of that for 4 minutes, but you're just like, nope, all I got for you is Her father's a reincarnated baby, and now we got 3 more minutes to fill.
Nothing seems to be sticking this segment. I mean,
At Lebitard Show.
I have polls.
On the polls, at Lebitard Show. Thanks, Billy, for all your contributions. There's where you decide to be efficient.
In my defense, I usually don't get that long, So I never really prepare 4 minutes.
Okay, but it's something you've been wanting to talk about for a while, and that's all you had. You just basically had a reciting of the facts as given to you by Kim Kardashian.
If I'm going to be 100% honest, I forgot a lot of the story, and I was trying to remember it as I was going.
You forgot why it is that you were so interested in this story? Because you've been interested in this story for damn near 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I don't even know when the news broke on her reincarnated baby daddy. Can we call him baby? No, we can. We can refer to the child as her baby daddy.
He had 4 minutes to fill. He filled 1. And they laugh at us. Sometimes it's very difficult to fill 3 hours.
Yeah. Everyone underestimates how hard this is because of how bad we are at it. At Lebitard Show on Twitter, what do we have today, Stugotz?
Is Brady the first piece that needs to fall?
Oh, a little remnant from Friday.
Yes. 85% of the audience said yes.
Little something from Friday you find in your toilet when it's not flushed properly.
Did you think The Walking Dead ended 5 years ago?
This was shocking.
I never really paid attention to the show. I got to be honest with you.
I'm surprised that they're still out here doing it.
87% of the audience said yes. They thought it ended 5 years ago. If you're going to get a tattoo that reads God's will, do you have to include the apostrophe? 87% of the audience said yes.
I learned with that Brock Osweiler also has a tattoo, Live Life to Its Fullest, that has no apostrophe. Or no, it does have an apostrophe in the it's that it's not supposed to have.
I don't understand.
It doesn't matter.
Okay. Is it surprising to you in any way, shape, or form that Bumgardner is spending his offseason performing at rodeos under an alias? We didn't spend nearly enough time
Not
on
nearly
this.
enough. Mike Honcho. I used to perform as Mike Honcho.
We need to get to this tomorrow.
How did we not get to this story and do more with it? Was this uncovered by an investigative team?
We had to get to the Kardashian news today.
Yeah, we did. You still got 30 seconds here. If you got any more you could give us. No, you're good? All right.
88% of the audience said no. Was Max Kellerman's analysis really, if he dies, he dies?
It was his analysis, but only in the heavyweight division.
Correct. 95% of the audience said yes. Those are the polls.
For 14 days, you wanted to talk about that Kardashian story, and that's what you gave us.
We will talk to you mañana. This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.